Get a copy of Stephania's book called Crowned with Glory: The Lessons That Can Be Learned from the Book of Esther on Amazon, and free excerpts from the book called Lesson Learned 3 Days Devotionals, Volume 1 and 2 from her website. Click the links in the description box below. Hello, lovelies. I hope all is well with you today, or this week, this morning, this afternoon, or whatever time you're listening. I hope all is well, all is good. And if it's not, just remember, if you have someone to speak to about any challenges that you're facing, speak to that person. We're not meant to go through any struggles or any type of event on our own, and we need to take the time and actually, have our support there and follow through with them. Sometimes it can be hard to do, but it's good for you, and sometimes it will provide you with insight and wisdom that you really need it, and sometimes they can actually show you your blind spots in any circumstance that you may be in right now, and that is well needed as well. All right, so you got this. I know you have a wonderful week and a wonderful day by the end of this podcast. So, if you listen to the last one, I'm starting a series called Faithfully Shameless. So this is the second recording. Yes, we're getting into this. And with this one, we're gonna, it's gonna be a Bible study. We're gonna get into the faith. We're gonna get into our faith, straighten our little muscles and everything like that. And we're actually going to look into Genesis 39, the story of Joseph. And the topic we're going to focus on has to do with favor, okay? What I noticed is that I may need my little Bible. Let me hit pause for a moment. Okay, so I got my Bible. Obviously for you guys, it won't be that brief. It'll be quick. The power of editing. But anyways, it's Genesis 39, and that was just the topic that I got from this one Saturday morning reading the Bible. The topic I got from it was favor, and just looking how we acquire that. So, as I mentioned, this is a story about Joseph. If you don't know who Joseph is actually the son of Jacob, and Rachel. Joseph. And Jacob really loved Joseph a lot. And we know that God changed Jacob's name to Israel after their little tussle, wrestling, and everything like that. But that's another story for another day. But we're going to focus on Jacob. Jacob was the son that, not Jacob, Joseph. Joseph was loved by his father Jacob because he loved Rachel. And he worked 14 years for Rachel, okay? And Jacob was a trickster. He ended up tricking his father to give him his older brother Esau blessing. And he escaped the family, and because his brother was going to kill him. And he ended up with a really good blessing. So he ended up going to the land of his parents. And he saw Rachel and Rachel was a shepherd with the sheep, and he just thought she was absolutely beautiful. The Bible actually stated that Rachel had a beautiful face and a beautiful figure. And all I can think is like, oh, okay, so she must be one of the curvy guys. She's part of the curve gangs. Okay, the curvy girls. Because they were like, oh, she had a nice shape. I'm like, oh, Okay. Well then, and compared to her sister, pretty much there was no twinkle in Leah's eye. And she wasn't that attractive. So not a lot of people was giving her the second look. And Jacob was really smitten. He loved Rachel. He liked what he saw. And he went up to Rachel's father and let him know that they're family and that he wants to marry Rachel. And he is willing to work for her for 7 years and all that. And he did this. And once that 7th year was up, he was ready to get his reward. And what he wasn't expecting was that the woman that was in his tent that night was not Rachel, but Leah. So he was pissed and he went to the father and was like, "Why did you give me Leah? I work for Rachel, and it's not tradition to give the second daughter up. It's usually the first daughter needs to get married before the second daughter can get married." And Leah and Rachel's story, oh man, that's another story for another day. I hope none of us don't want to be Rachel or Leah and have to deal with Jacob. It's like, who want a dude with, who want to deal with it? That's a headache right there. They had a headache, right? So, yeah. So Rachel's room was pretty much closed for many years, and Leah was just praying to God about her distress, and he noticed that she was being maltreated and everything like that. One day, Rachel's room was open, and she was able to conceive and gave birth to Joseph. And Joseph and his other brother, I believe Benjamin, those are the only two children that Rachel gave birth to. I believe. I have to double check, but yeah. And Jacob loved those two kids because they came from the woman that he really, 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 truly loved. And that was Rachel. He was willing to work for 14 years for this woman, okay? 14 years. He was willing to put the work for her. Hey now. All right. Okay. Focus. So, how does this have to relate to Genesis 39? Here we go. So, Joseph, since he is favored by his dad, he was given a colorful um, cloth. So, it's kind of like this robe to put on. And Joseph, was a dreamer. He will have vivid dreams. And he will tell like his dad and his brothers about his dream. And one of his dreams got him in trouble because he dreamt that his brothers bowing down to him as well as his father bowing down to him. And this actually troubled his father Jacob, and his brother, they were like they did not like him. One, he's not allowed to go out to the field. Two, they know that he's dad's favorite because of his mom. And now he's out here telling them their dreams that they're going to be bowing down to him. Like, excusez-moi. What? That's not something you need to be telling your dreams, your ambition to people who are jealous of you, because they will plot and scheme against you, which what they did. They end up putting Joseph into a ditch. They were gonna kill him, or but he ended up being sold off in slavery. So when the brother ended up going back to get him in the ditch, they realized he was gone. So they decided to take his colorful cloth and kill a sheep, splatter blood on this, and this caused their father Jacob to be really sad and distressed because his precious son from his precious Rachel died. Okay, so now we have Joseph. He is in slavery right now, and somehow, no, he was in slavery and he ended up being a slave for Potiphar. Okay, so we're gonna get into Genesis 39. And this is Joseph and Potiphar's wife. All right, so I'm reading the NIV version. And we will get into some things and why this just shows like favor. Okay, so we have 39. Now Joseph had been taken down to Egypt. Potiphar, an Egyptian, who was one of Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guards, brought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. The Lord was with Joseph, and he prospered, and he lived in the house of the Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in the eyes and became his attendant. So right here, notice that the Lord was with Joseph. Joseph was in this place, he ended up being sold as a slave, and now he's found himself in the Potiphar house. Not just Potiphar was someone who worked for the Pharaoh, so he was in a very high established household and to be a slave. And Potiphar noticed something. He noticed that Joseph had favor, not just any type of favor, but he had favor from his God, the Israelic God, the Jewish God, because he came from the Ishmaelites. He was among the Ishmaelites when he was sold out into slavery, I believe. Let's see. Pharaoh's officials, the captain of the guard, brought him from the Ishmaelites who had taken him there. Okay, so yeah, he came from the Ishmaelites tribe, which sold him into slavery. He noticed that the God that Joseph was serving was with him, and he noticed that he was favorable. So anything that he did, any work he had done, like it could be gardening, cleaning, he was prosperous. He was successful at it. Things came easy for him, even though he was not in a situation that was a pleasant one for Joseph. And because he noticed that he had favor upon him, he decided to make him his top attendee. So this will be the attendant over his household to make sure this man, Joseph, will be able to take care of everything for him, and he know everything will be done right, and he know that everything will be prosperous, everything will be done well. Okay. Let's see. I'm looking at my notes. So God's favor is upon Joseph's life, and it can be seen by others. They will recognize it. So when you have God favor upon your life, it will be seen. It's pretty much like how in the scripture is just stating that you will know them by their fruits. So if you follow and you're faithful to God and do whatever the words state that you need to do, this will please God, and he will provide you a favor because he knows that you are faithful to him. No matter if you have a little or a lot, no matter if you have the highest position or not, he will provide you with favor and grant you success in all that you do. And this will be recognizable by others. Others will recognize how God is moving in your life. They will recognize it. It's the same way Prophet recognized that Joseph had favor in his life, and everything that he does, everything that he touch, everything that he work on prosper, meaning that it's successful no matter what he does. Okay, let's continue on. So we have Potiphar put him in charge of his household, and he entrusted to his care everything he owned. From the time he put him in charge of the household and all that he owned, the Lord blessed the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. You see, because Joseph is in the household and he served God and he's faithful to God. There's a reason why I'm saying faithful, because It's going to turn up. It's going to turn up in the passage. It's going to be in there. Because he's so faithful and he worked hard, even though he's not in a favorable situation, he's far away from his land, he's far away from his family. He's not allowing just Joseph to be successful, but he's allowing that household that Joseph is in to be successful as well. So that just shows that if you are a place and God assists you to be successful in what you do, what you are doing, your contribution will help that workplace to be successful as well. So therefore, they will receive that blessing that you're receiving from the Lord. If that makes sense. Okay. All right. So we have the household of the Egyptian because of Joseph. Okay. The blessing of the Lord was on everything Potiphar had, both in the house and in the field. So in his household was successful. So that could be the food that was made. That could be his work. Anything within his household was successful, and the field. So that will be any crops that he has out there. They will have enough. So there will be enough in there, enough grapes. I'm not sure they had grapes in Egypt. I don't think that's like the perfect climate for that. But any type of crops that they're able to cultivate on that land, it will be plentiful. If they have any sheep, cows, any farm animals that's there, it's going to be plentiful. There's going to be a lot on that land. If there's grass or a place for them to eat or hay or something like that, water that's needed, it's going to be plentiful. Okay, the Lord blessed that household because of who? Joseph, because Joseph is faithful to God. So therefore God is faithful to Joseph. And since Joseph is working well, he's not grumbling, he's not complaining or anything like that. He's doing the work well. So therefore he's going to make sure the home that he resides, where his job is placed as a slave in that household, he's going to make sure that household is successful, because he's going to make sure Joseph have food to eat. Think about it. He's going to make sure Joseph have water to drink. So therefore, this household will be successful as well. This household will be blessed as well, because Joseph reside in this household. So wherever Joseph go, my blessing, not like my blessing, but God's blessing will go out through him. Okay? All right, let's continue on. So he left in Joseph's care everything he had with Joseph in charge. He did not concern himself with anything except the food he ate. Now Joseph was well built and handsome. And after a while, his master's wife took notice of Joseph and said, "Come to bed with me." Ooh. Potiphar had some type of lady. Oh dear. All right, and we know Joseph is he is muy caliente. He is sexy. He is handsome. And he's well built, because let's be honest, if he's well built, that means he's working the field. So he has some muscle on him. Okay? He's a good looking man. Oh my gosh. Okay, so let's get back to this. But he refused. With me in charge. But he refused. So Joseph refused her. "With me in charge," he told her, "my master does not concern himself with anything in the house. Everything he owns, he has entrusted to my care. No one is greater in this house than I am. My master has withheld nothing from me except you, because you are his wife. How then could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" Notice that he said sin against God, not sin against his master, but sin against God. Because he knew if he can, go follow through with this act with this woman, he's going to sin against his heavenly Father, and he does not want to go against his heavenly Father, because he knows that he is successful here and things are good for him here, even though he's in a position he does not want to be in. But he knows that God was able to provide for him and provide him with success. So therefore, the only thing he has to do is just be faithful to God and keep his word to the Lord and not sin. Like, he know this is a big no, a big no. So therefore, he's not gonna touch no other woman. He's not gonna have an affair or anything like that, because that's a big no. And he's not doing that because of Potiphar. He's doing that because of God, because he's faithful to God. Okay. So in my notes I have, Joseph was sexually harassed by Potiphar's wife since he was so handsome. Joseph refused her on 2 accounts. 1, he respected Potiphar's household, his position as the master employer, pretty much. Potiphar is his master, his employer, and as husband. Not meaning like he's Joseph's husband or anything like that. His position as a husband. Because he know his wife, that's his wife is the master wife. Potiphar's wife is coming on to him, and he knows, no pass go. You are the wife of my master, okay? You are the wife of my employer. No pass go. No. I have respect for this man, and I have a respect for his household, and he entrusted me with everything, but not you. You, I cannot have access to. So that's what he's saying right there. And then the second thing, which I mentioned, is that his fear of God, like his reverence for God and his desire to be faithful to God. And notice that his response is that he does not want to sin against God. Yes, he recognized his position. He recognized where he's at. But out of everything else that's greater for him is God. Okay? So I wrote down, this is a clue as to why in verse 2 to 4, the Lord was with Joseph, and he prospered, and he lived in the house of his Egyptian master. When his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord gave him success in everything he did, Joseph found favor in his eyes and became his attendant. That is why he gained favor from Potiphar, because he noticed that Joseph already gained favor from God. And the only reason why he gained favor from God is because of his faithfulness to God. That's the only reason why God provided him with favor. God provided him with success. Even though he's in a circumstance that is unfavorable, is not a place where he wants to be at, the Lord is with him. Okay? All right. Let's see. And though she spoke to Joseph day after day, he refused to go to bed with her or even be with her. My goodness, she has a hard time hearing no. One day he went into the house to attend to his duties, and none of the household servants was inside. Uh-oh. She caught him by his cloth and said, "Come to bed with me." But he left his cloth in her hand and ran out of the house. When she saw that he had left his cloth in her hand and had run out of the house, she called her household servants. "Look," she said to them, "this Hebrew has been brought to us to make sport of us. Sorry. He came in here to sleep with me, but I screamed. And when he heard me scream for help, he left his cloak beside me and ran out of the house." What a liar. I can't. I can't with her. Okay. But yeah. I'm gonna stop right there for a moment. And let's see what else I have in my notes. So verse 2 to 4, which I already read, and Joseph 3 to 9, where we learned that God provide Joseph with prosperity, that he was successful in everything, and because of this, um, Potiphar noticed this. He recognized this. Okay, so we learned that God has favor upon Joseph, which led to favor upon Joseph, and as I mentioned before, this favor was only granted upon Joseph because he was faithful to God. He was loyal to God. And he was loyal to God by honoring God, decrees, and by man, as well as man, he honored Potiphar's position, which is a husband to the wife. He recognized that man's position. He knows his role. He knows he's the head. He's his employer. He must submit to him. He is in control of everything in the household outside, but when it comes to his wife, he does not want no part of it. So pretty much he knows his role and he has respect for Potiphar. By honoring Potiphar's position as a husband and not succumbing to Potiphar's wife advances toward him to have sexual relation, an affair with him. So he did not do this. He honored him. And then when we go into Genesis 40, because of this lie, he was placed in prison. Now, even though he was placed in prison in Genesis 40, Joseph was still working in his gifts. He was still working in his purpose, which is being able to interpret dreams. And not only that, God was still with him, and he still allowed this man in prison to be successful, to still prosper in prison. It's like, my goodness. And he was still with him. So yeah. So I just want to show you like from chapter 39, because chapter 40 is a whole nother story itself, because that's where his dream came to fruition, the dream that he had, that caused his brother to be jealous and try to plot to kill him, but he ended up being sold off as a slave instead. It's just go to show that the one thing that you can do that's far important is just to be faithful to God. Be someone that God can trust. Because God will always be faithful to us. So the least that we can do is just be faithful back to him and be humble to him and just to complete his will to the best of our abilities. And just take the time to notice, like, hey, I've been working, I've been faithful to God, and I did what I was supposed to do. Notice if it produced any fruit. Notice if it's successful. Notice that something came out of it that you did not expect to happen. Because yes, for Joseph's story, he was sold as a slave, but he wasn't expecting to be like the head master or the head servant, I would say, in the household. And because of that, he wasn't a slave in just any home, but he was a slave in a home who is like second in line for like the Egyptian pharaoh, who worked with the pharaoh, who's like in a royal position in a sense. So that allowed the household to provide good things. So he was well dressed, and he had to be well groomed and everything like that to be in that household. And he was well fed, and because both everything inside the household as well as outside, that would have to be the farmland, was successful. So they were not starving. They were very wealthy. And that only happened because of Joseph being faithful to God. So just have a question for you, is that what is keeping you from being faithful to God? What is keeping you to upholding his laws and to fulfill his will? What's keeping you from it? And if you are, doing that, have you noticed the fruits that's producing instead of complaining of the situation that you're in or whatever like that? Have a new eyes, remove all the scales off, just remove all the scales from your eyes, not to see like the position that you're in, but see what opportunities are open for you, even though you are in a circumstance that is not that's not the best. What avenues, what doorways are open for you to help you get out of that situation? So yeah, so that is the second episode of this little thing called Faithfully Shameless. Just trying something new. And I hope this bless you. And I hope it just help you with your insight, with your walk with the Lord. And just to think about how you can utilize this in your career, your job, your studies, your educations, starting your own business, working on a new project. Do it well. Don't just do it well just to do it well. Do it well for the Lord. Because there's something my mom taught me is that whatever that you do it well for God. You're producing it for Him. You're producing it for Him so He can say good job. For Him to say you did good work. So He can be proud of you. So do it for the Lord. Do it with excellence for the Lord. All right? Grace and peace, everyone, and have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, and a wonderful week. Until next time.